Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me once again is my good buddy, Mark Souza. We're going to be talking about the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Eagles and the Giants. Then we're going to go on to the Week 6 matchups, our predictions and scores. Then we're going to go on to the college football matchups that's also happening this week on Saturday. And the fourth segment is a free-for-all of whatever we want to talk about elsewhere in sports. So let's get on to our first segment, and Thursday Night Football, as the Eagles routed the Giants 34-13. This game wasn't even close.
This game was done early, 34-13, like you mentioned. It didn't even feel like it was that close, to be honest with you.
Sounds like a close score, huh, when you think about it?
It doesn't sound as bad as what we actually saw.
Yeah.
That's for sure. The Eagles were in control of this game early. They were definitely in cruise control after halftime, but the Giants were at home. They put up another lousy performance in front of their faithful crowd. On a rainy night, there's a little bit of weather there. It didn't affect the Eagles. I don't know if it affected the Giants, but the Giants, of course, were careless. They made a lot of mistakes. And it all starts with their quarterback, Eli Manning, who has another performance that he wishes he could have back. The Giants' offense looks all out of sorts, except for Saquon Barkley. And the Eagles,
the only offensive weapon they have at the moment.
And the Eagles get the job done. They get back on track. They improve to 3-3. And this could set themselves up well for the rest of their season.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that totally. Barkley's the only offensive guy on the team that's actually performing well over the last couple of weeks. Everyone else has been very lackluster. It was all Eagles. The Eagles just manhandled their defense as well as done well on the defensive side themselves. This game was over before it even started. It felt like the Giants didn't even come off the bus. This was the Eagles' time to win, and this was the Eagles' stadium after this game.
Barkley, like you mentioned, like we both mentioned, how good of a game he had. 13 carries, 130 yards rushing, and a touchdown. 9 receptions for 99 yards through the passing game. He led all Giants players in rushing and receiving. The story here for the Giants offense, beyond Saquon Barkley refusing to go down, is Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham, another game where he's held in check, 6 catches for 44 yards.
Towards inanimate objects.
He was targeted 10 times. He had 6 catches for 44 yards. The Giants just cannot get Odell Beckham Jr. the ball down the field. Everything to him is short. And it makes sense to get the ball in his hands as he's a playmaker, but we know a big part of his game is getting behind defenders, catching those long passes where he can run onto him, and then he's never caught from behind. So what are you seeing, Jeff, from the Eli Manning-Odell Beckham connection this year that we have, what's missing from years past where we've been able to see them connect, even in the last few years where the Giants maybe weren't very good, but they'd still have a good passing game?
It feels like they don't get along. It feels like there's no chemistry there for the two. Odell and Eli Manning are two completely different people. Usually those coincide into a good chemistry on the field also, but not in this situation. In this situation, they could not be farther apart. Odell Beckham Jr. threw his quarterback under the bus in an interview earlier this week. Also, as well as just they don't give the ball to Odell. And Odell gets upset and starts throwing hissy fits on the sidelines. And it's not what the team needs.
Yeah, and you talked about it. Another inanimate object that Odell Beckham takes his frustration out. It seems like this happens every so often, every 4 or 5 football games or so. He signs his contract. He is now their franchise wide receiver. Some would even say their franchise player. Is Odell Beckham Jr., does he have the type of mentality to be a leader for that team? Because regardless whether you think he is or not, his contract speaks for itself. Like, he is technically a leader of that team by default.
I really don't see him as a emotional leader. He doesn't really demand of himself and of others. He's kind of just like, always like, give me the ball. He's kind of in a selfish kind of mood when he's saying, give me the ball. Kind of like Antonio Brown when he throws a fit when he doesn't get the ball.
I heard a good quote, a good term for them.
What?
Wide redivas.
How about we just call them divas?
Yes.
Who's more of a diva, Antonio Brown or Odell
Beckham Jr.?
Really? I would say Antonio Brown, to be honest.
I'd say Odell.
He gets mad at his offensive coordinator and coaches for not getting the ball thrown to him. Like, I remember during an AFC...
Yeah, they both are emotional players.
During the AFC...
But one guy is getting physical with inanimate objects on the sideline and just causing... Like, Antonio Brown says some things and he does some things.
During the... I'm sorry to interrupt, but during the AFC Championship game between the Steelers and Patriots a couple years ago, D'Angelo Williams got a rushing touchdown in the first play of the opening drive, and Antonio Brown complained about it on the sidelines not getting the ball. Like, there's no... Who cares about stats in the playoffs? It's the playoffs, and they're complaining to anyone who can hear you that, give me the ball, it's my team. Like, no, that's not how you should play, especially in the playoffs. That's where I got my most sour note from Antonio Brown.
Yeah, you make some good points there. I'd say Odell is the bigger distraction, but that he's also on a team that has a lot more dysfunction than the Steelers. Now we all know
Steelers are getting there in dysfunction.
Yeah, we all know the Le'Veon Bell situation. We know about some of the drama that happens in Pittsburgh, but regardless, they've been a winning team for a while. The Giants haven't been a winning team for some time. Odell's been injured during this time. I don't know. I just trust Antonio Brown more when it comes to this conversation. But regardless,
I think we're both right. I think that'd be even too.
Yeah, regardless, Saquon Barkley was unreal last night, making defenders miss left and right. He had all those rushing yards, all those receiving yards, but make no mistake, it was not good blocking. It was not easy for him. What he did last night, I don't even think can be appreciated enough. He broke a lot of tackles, ran by a lot of defenders bouncing off of his thigh pads. Just an incredible game for the rookie, right?
If he had a good offensive line, he could have ran for 200 yards.
It's crazy. He had such a good game, yet his team gets blown out by 21 points.
As soon as he got the ball, he was already being trying to be tackled, and he broke those tackles. Imagine if he had like time to run and a hole to run in instead of making one himself.
Yeah, absolutely. He did it all on his own yesterday without much help. They didn't have much going on in the passing game other than checking the ball down to him and letting Saquon go to work against linebackers and safeties in space, which has proven to be effective. However, the Giants do need more offense. They need more from their passing game. It's obvious to everybody that this team needs more from the quarterback position. So with that said, Jeff, we need to talk about Eli Manning. We need to talk about if he's done. Is he done?
He's well done.
He's well done.
He's overcooked steak.
He's overcooked steak.
Dunskies.
So, if he's done, what should the Giants do?
They should have drafted a quarterback in this draft, but no, they had to think he was still a good player to pull a franchise around.
So although you just saw Saquon Barkley take the league by storm through the first 6 games.
I'm not taking anything away from Barkley. Barkley's a great player. He was a great pick, but he went to the wrong team.
So you're saying that taking Barkley was a mistake?
For the Giants. The Giants are the only team that I would say that's not the team he should be on. Not because he's from New York or anything like that, but because that team needs a quarterback. That team doesn't have a leader. That team is leaderless.
I understand what you're saying. So let's say they take a quarterback instead of Barkley. And then their running backs would be who? Wayne Gallman and
They rarely run the ball. They're only running the ball because they have Barkley. They usually pass the ball first anyways.
Definitely. And when you have a guy like Odell Beckham, you're normally a passing team first. Okay, so with that being said, what should they do with Eli? Do they let him ride out the rest of the season?
When they're out of playoff contention, then bench him.
Some would say they're already out of playoff contention.
I meant like mathematically eliminated.
Some would say they're... No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think it's possible to go be mathematically eliminated right now.
They're not mathematically eliminated, but this season's over.
0-9 or 0-10, the Browns still had a chance to make the playoffs last year. They had to go late. They could have made it with 6-10 if like all these crazy scenarios and ties happened.
Yeah. So they're 1-5. Yes, you make a point that they are not done officially yet, but for all intents and purposes, they're done, right? Would you agree?
I would agree, yeah.
Okay, so it leads me to ask you.
Nothing's impossible, though.
These are the two quarterbacks on the Giants roster that are behind Eli Manning. Are you ready for them?
Go for it.
It's actually impressive. If we were to ask random fans this, it'd be very impressive if they got one of the two right. Wouldn't you say?
Well, let me hear them.
Alex Tanney.
Who?
Alex Tanney.
It's Ryan Tannehill. That's who you're trying to say, right?
One career start for Tanney. He played in 2015 in one game for the Titans.
He won a game.
Did he?
You said he won a game?
I said he played in one game.
Oh, I thought you said he won a game.
No, so he played in one game, and that's it. He's 30 years old.
30 and only played one game.
He went to Richmond. He was a 4th-round pick. I'm sorry. He was undrafted, excuse me, and he went to Monmouth. I'm actually looking ahead here. Their third quarterback, who hasn't dressed yet this season, is Kyle Lauletta. Kyle Lauletta.
You mean Kyle Orton?
Kyle Lauletta was a 4th-round pick this year.
Thumbs up if anyone got that reference.
So they have two quarterbacks that are sitting behind Eli right now. Alex Tanney, who is their number 2, because he is a veteran, although with limited experience. And their number 3, who hasn't suited up for a game, is Kyle Lauletta, who they drafted in the 4th round from Richmond. Richmond who? What is their mascot?
The Spiders.
There you go. So,
why
Jeff,
do I know that?
The Giants benched Eli last year and got a lot of grief for it. It was the way that it was handled, I guess, wasn't the best. It was drama. It was not a good situation. Do you see the Giants benching Eli this year?
If they lose every game going into weeks 7 or 8, I will say they'll bench him.
Well, we're in week 6 now.
I know, so it's close.
So if they lose their next 2 games?
Yes.
Okay.
And how they lose them, too.
Then they would play the 49ers in San Francisco.
That's the perfect time to start a new quarterback.
Alex Tanney, or would you go with the rookie? See what you got?
It's the 49ers. Their secondary is terrible. Why not? Just don't throw it to Richard Sherman.
Yeah, so which quarterback would you start, though? Would you start the 30-year-old journeyman backup who's played in one NFL game, or would you start your 4th-round draft pick from this year's draft?
Take the 4th rounder.
See what you got in him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be another bad situation, but do you see Eli retiring after this year?
I think everybody does.
Okay. So let's move on to Philly. They get back on track last night. They're 3-3. They have a tough schedule ahead, but they do get a win. Do you think this was a type of game and type of win that will put them back on track to win their division and go to the playoffs?
Absolutely. I think this is the beginning of their run to another division championship, because the NFC East is really weak at the moment, and they got to take full advantage of this situation right now.
I have a good question for you.
Go for it.
Through 6 games that you've watched the Eagles play,
okay,
we're projecting the future here. Do you think that at the end of the season, heading into the playoffs, they will be the favorite in the NFC? Or do you think that even if you think the Rams will be, or another team, do you think they'll be in the conversation as one of the top 2 teams in the NFC to represent the conference in this year's Super Bowl?
If they keep playing like the way they did yesterday, then yes. But I can also see them in like third place, like almost there but not quite, and still make the playoffs and have a good run.
So last night was the first game that the Eagles had played without Jay Ajayi. They had Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood, who both had limited success rushing the ball, not great averages. They didn't do too much. Clement did score a touchdown, of course, but all in all, they weren't very efficient with the ball in their hands. Do the Eagles need to make a move for LaShawn McCoy to bolster their status as a contender in the National Football League NFC Conference?
They don't need LaShawn McCoy, but they would like to have him. I feel like he'll be a impactful decision, no doubt about it. In addition, no doubt about it. But overall, I would say like they seem to do fine without him. Their running backs seem to be doing somewhat decent. I mean, that's all you really need is them to get some yards, and they did. And I see them still winning the NFC East division without McCoy.
I think they'll win the division for sure. But I do think he would add something because he's still, even though he's 30, he's not the old LaShawn McCoy. I still think that he provides more game-breaking ability and more versatility than the running backs they currently have on the roster. And Clement and Smallwood are young running backs. They're not proven. Yeah, they've made plays. Yeah, they've participated in playoff games in the Super Bowl. But I don't know. I think McCoy would add something, a different dynamic to this team.
Oh, yeah, he would be a good addition. He's also at the end of his career, though, so who knows what would happen. But
Another interesting fact, though, is that the Eagles did free up cap space this week where they could bring on his contract if they were to make a trade for maybe offer a mid-round pick or whatever. But, yeah, that's all I have for Thursday Night Football. And the Eagles, of course, rout the New York Giants.
As do I. So we'll take a short break. When we get back, we'll be talking about our Week 6 matchups and our predictions and how those will go. We will see you right after this.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just finished talking about the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Giants and the Eagles. If Eli Manning is done and how the Eagles are going to do rest of the season, you can look at that later on. But right now, we're going to go on to the second segment, Week 6 of the NFL season. We got our predictions. Lay them out for us.
This is the segment where I beat Jeff like I did last week.
Wasn't it like by a game or two?
9-6, I believe our picks.
So 3 games off. That's not bad.
That's pretty bad. Anyways, you ready for him?
Sure, go.
All right. So we will start in no particular order here. We'll give our thoughts on the game. We'll give our score predictions. Jeff, let me ask you.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Falcons. They're hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a bye week with a new quarterback or an old quarterback, depending on your outlook of it. Jameis Winston, he's back in the saddle as a quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Falcons at 1-4. They need this one. Coming off a big blowout loss, coming off of the back of another loss to the Bengals where they were beat in a last-second loss there at home. It's a big game. What do you see happening here?
So my score for the game, first of all, is 28-20. The Falcons have it. And the reason I do that is because just like the Falcons are just, I feel like they need a bounce back, and they're going to bounce back. Their offense is strong, and overall, I just think they're the better team. I know the records don't speak for it, but I do think the Falcons are still a better offensive team. They just need to work themselves on defense, and they'll get it done today.
Is this a must-win game for the Falcons if they want to make the playoffs? They're at 1-4 right now.
Yes.
They would be tied with the Giants if they lost this game.
Yeah, they need to win this game.
I agree. They need to win this game. I do see some points scored in this game because the Falcons' defense, quite frankly, isn't very good with all the injuries that they've had to that defensive backfield especially. I'm going to go with the Falcons winning 38-28 in Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz. What is it? The Mercedes-Benz Dome? Is that what they call it there?
Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz Superdome is New Orleans.
Sure. So that sounds right.
Get it right.
All right. So Falcons 38-28. We both have the Falcons there. Let's move on to a very interesting game. The 4-1 Cincinnati Bengals. Your 4-1 Cincinnati Bengals, Jeff Malinoff.
My 4-1.
They play the 2-2-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a home game for Cincinnati. Are they for real? Are they going to win this game? What do you see happening?
So for this game, well, you know what? Let you go first. We'll go back.
I think Cincinnati's going to win this game. It might sound weird. It sounds weird to say. I immediately regret saying this out loud that they'll be 5-1. I don't know how. I don't know how Marvin Lewis still has a job. I'm so confused. But I have Cincinnati winning this game because Pittsburgh on the road is not the same. They're just not the same team. I think A.J. Green has a big day. I think Joe Mixon does enough. I like it 31-27 for the Bengals to improve to 5-1.
Yeah, I had the Bengals too. They're kind of on a hot streak right now. Mixon's playing well. A.J. Green's playing well. Andy Dalton is a kind of a sleeper guy when it comes to just being a good quarterback. So yeah, I do have the Bengals as well. I do have them taking it. Well, let me look at. We have it all written down. Let me just look at this real quick.
You have it 24-14.
I can't read your handwriting. Why not just with the Bengals? You say okay. If for those who are listening, he has it like this. It says Falcons and then Cincy and then Broncos. Then he calls them all.
It's Browns actually.
Is that okay? BR. That's an A. I can't say anything. I have horrible handwriting. Also, I can't say anything either. But you have good handwriting elsewhere too. But the Browns that's an A, my friend.
Anyways, let's move on to the third game on the slate. The San Diego Chargers. They will travel out
against
east against
Cleveland Browns.
My Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns at 2-2-1. The Chargers at 3-2. This is a home game for the Browns. What do you see happening in this game, Jeff?
The Browns defense is going to come up. They're going to win this game by a score of 13-10.
That is a low-scoring game.
It's a defensive game. That's my prediction.
I think we'll see some more points. At the end of the day, I like Phillip Rivers to lead a late drive to get the victory. 27-24. Chargers win on the road. But I do see good signs and good games ahead for this Cleveland Browns team. So how about we go across the pond now, Jeff? Are you ready? Pack your bags.
I'm packing my bags.
We're going to London.
Going to London.
The first London game of the season has the Oakland Raiders as the home team against the away team, Seattle Seahawks. I don't think that really matters at all. It just hurts the Raiders because they have to spend a home game in London and not in Oakland. I'll go first here, Jeff. I think Seattle will win this game. I think even though they lost against the Rams last week, they showed some improvement on offense. And I don't think that the Raiders' offense is nearly as good as the Rams. And I don't think that the Raiders' defense is particularly good either. I could see this game going either way. But I'm going to take Russell Wilson in Seattle to get a win in London against the Oakland Raiders, 24-21. What do you like?
Wow. Well, I like it as a score of 15-12. It's a low-scoring game, but I still think the Raiders are going to take this one.
So the Raiders. I have Seattle. You have the Raiders. Okay.
Yep.
So that's the second one that we disagree on. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's move on to our next game on the schedule. And this game is the Bears. They'll head south. They'll head to Florida to face the Miami Dolphins. Chicago coming off a bye. They were very impressive in their win before their bye. Miami had a disastrous second half last week against the Bengals as they dropped that game. Who do you like in this game, Jeff, between the Bears and the Dolphins?
Bears defense is elite right now, so I'm going 14-3 Bears.
Bears defense is elite.
Don't need to explain myself anymore.
Okay. I like Miami in this game because they're at home. The Bears, I need to see more from their offense to know that they've turned the corner. Their last game was Mitchell Trubisky's breakout game, but I'm not going to assume that we will see something like that again. Miami has a way better defense than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I got Miami 20-17 at home. All right, you ready to move on to another game where the Minnesota Vikings are favored heavily at home?
Yes, I'm going Vikings 24-16.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 24-10.
But we didn't even set this game up here.
The Vikings?
So the 1-4.
You just said hometown Vikings.
Yeah, I didn't even say who they were playing.
Who are they playing?
The Arizona Cardinals, who are on a 1-game winning streak.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my pick of 24-10.
24-10, so they're not going to suffer a home loss against a team that should be inferior to them like they did against Buffalo?
Arizona's worse than Buffalo. Sorry, but Arizona's worse than Buffalo.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so I got the Vikings too. I don't think it'll be close. 30-13 is my score. There's no way the Vikings can lose twice at home to the Cardinals and the Bills, right?
Yeah.
Like, no way.
No way. If they do, I'll eat a shoe.
A shoe?
I don't know why. I won't show up on Monday. No, I can't do that because that's not right.
That'd be mean.
Yeah. I'll cry on air. How about that?
Okay. How about we talk about the Jets and the Colts? New York Jets are hosting Andrew Luck and the Colts. It looks like the Colts are going to be without T.Y. Hilton again, as Andrew Luck will be without his favorite wide receiving target. It's a tough game for the Colts, man, in my opinion. I think the Jets at home with a pretty good defense, an underrated defense, I think they get it done here, Jeff. I think the Jets win 27-20. What do you think the score will be? Who do you think will win this game?
I got the Jets on this one, 35-17, because when Sam Darnold gets on, he's on like he showed against the Lions in Week 1. I think he's going to have that kind of a game again this week.
Yeah, and I like Crowell and Powell.
Sweet.
Crowell and Powell have given the Jets an underrated 1-2 punch. Both players play a lot. They get the ball a lot. They like to establish the run. They like to use their backs. So I think the Jets will win this game. I just don't think Andrew Luck has enough around him to win this game. We will see, though. How about so I have the Jets 27-20. You have them 35-17. How about we talk about the Carolina Panthers as they travel to Alex Smith and the Washington Redskins? What do you see in this game, Jeff? Panthers and Redskins.
I got Panthers 21-10 on this one.
Talk to me about it.
Redskins are playing really bad. Panthers are playing really good. It's just a simple process of elimination on this one.
Yeah, that game that Washington just played against New Orleans left a bad taste in people's mouths, but I'm not sure. I think Washington's a better team than we saw the other night. I'm going to chalk that one up to a bad game.
It was a really bad game. Of course, they were facing a potential MVP in Drew Brees, who broke the all-time passing record.
Yeah, I'm just going to chalk that up to it wasn't their night.
Cam Newton is still, he's doing pretty well for himself at the moment. He's got some weapons on the receiving core, especially with Christian McCaffrey behind him and running back, and I just think that might be too much for the Redskins defense to handle.
Yeah, I'm with you. 27-17 is my pick for the Panthers. You have Panthers 21-10, so we both like Panthers there. All right, so let's move on to the next game. Why don't we talk about the Bills traveling to Houston to face Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. Texans looking to get another win so they can start a winning streak here. Bills are looking to win their third game, believe it or not. So both teams come in at 2-3. Who do you like in this game?
I like the Texans 17-14.
Okay, so another low-scoring game.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your picks, and I notice you have a lot of low-scoring games. You like the unders in a lot of these games.
I like unders.
Cool.
Weird. I don't know.
I, too, have the Texans, and I, too, have a score that would hit the under. 20-10 is my pick for the Texans. So, moving on.
Yes.
The Rams, they travel to Mile High Stadium to face Case Keenum, your Case Keenum, and the Denver Broncos. What do you see in this game between Case Keenum and Jared Goff and those offensive weapons that both teams have?
Clearly this goes to Jared Goff for the Rams. I say it's going to be 38-20.
38-20, okay.
The Rams are just the hottest team in football right now. Todd Gurley's on a rampage. Jared Goff has really been the guy when he was really he's making that one pick overall worth it because he's playing extremely well. Gotten a lot better last couple of years. And that defense is still, even without Aqib Talib. And I don't know if Peters is back or not. We still don't know. But this team is still the best in football.
Yeah, I think the Rams are going to win in a blowout. 41-24 is my score. Hey, do you remember what the Jets running game was able to do to the Broncos last week?
Oh, 219 yards rushing?
And now they have to face Todd Gurley.
Yeah, this is going to be a slaughter. If it happens again, we might see a new record, an all-time single-game rushing record. He might rush for 300 yards.
If the defense plays that poor where they gave up
219 yards.
Yeah, was it?
Says here, Crow.
Yeah, so if they give up that many yards, they will give up 300 to Todd Gurley. So we'll see if that happens. How about a big game again in Texas, this time in Dallas? The Cowboys are hosting the Jaguars. Jeff, what do you see between the Jacksonville Jaguars going to Jerry's World?
I see
playing
the Jags,
the Dallas Cowboys
21-14.
21-14 for Blake Bortles and the Jags. You just like him and that team a little bit better than the Cowboys, huh?
I really, really do. I like the Jags. I think they're going to make it back to the AFC Championship game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see a low-scoring game. I see the defenses dominating this contest where you have two really good defensive lines that can get after the quarterbacks. But I think both quarterbacks will be under pressure most of the day. I do see Jacksonville getting a defensive turnover that leads to a touchdown. Maybe like a pick six by Jalen Ramsey or something like that. It's going to be super hard for the Cowboys wide receivers to get off the line of scrimmage against Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Boye, and the rest of that Jacksonville defense. It's a bad matchup for the Cowboys, in my opinion. I see Jacksonville winning 20-17. The Cowboys keep it close because they'll be able to force Blake Bortles into mistakes, into punts and things like that as well. So give me Jacksonville. Let's move on to... We got 2 games left on the slate here. Ravens-Titans. Who do you see winning this game, Jeff? We have the Ravens traveling to Tennessee to face the very uneven Tennessee Titans. They lose games you think they're going to win. They win games you think they're going to lose. I don't know what to make the Titans. The Ravens are playing well right now. You like who?
Well, you said the Titans are inconsistent, but I'm saying this is going to be a win for the Titans. They're going to take this one 24-14.
24-14 for Marcus Mariota in that offense. Okay, so who do you see for the Titans really showing out for this game, being the difference maker?
That's a tough question to answer, but I'm going to say the defensive side of the Titans are going to come in clutch. I know that's weird to say, but I feel like
they can play defense.
Yeah, I'm going to feel like this is the time where they're going to
Joe
shine.
Flacco can make mistakes too, you know.
Joe
It's
Flacco
not the worst
really
idea.
risky. Yeah, he's not a good he's not a accurate passer. He throws a lot of ducks.
I like the Ravens in this game, but I think this game has a lot of different outcomes that I could see happening. I do like the Ravens because their defense is just better than Tennessee's, and I think that Mariota and the offense hasn't figured it out yet for Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So give me the Ravens 24-21. I do like them to win a game and improve and be a force in that NFC North, or AFC North, excuse me, as they continue to impress. I think they'll win again this week. How about we go to the last game on the slate, the game of the week, Sunday Night Football. This game has been a game that I've been looking forward to all week. Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense go into Foxborough. They go to Gillette Stadium, and they face Tom Brady and the Patriots. Jeff.
Yes.
Who's winning this game? Well, who's the difference in this game?
We are talking about Kansas City and New England. I'm going Kansas City. They're going to go 6-0, 31-24.
All right, and who will be the difference maker?
Patrick Mahomes. Shockingly. No, actually, you know what? I'll change that. Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill will be the man that is going to help that team win the football games.
Gotcha.
That sounded like someone that didn't know anything about football. But yeah, Tyreek Hill is just a dominant guy on the offensive side. He outruns everyone on the field. And Patrick Mahomes sometimes underthrows him, and that's how fast he is. But if he gives him the ball and he gets out in the open, he's gone.
I think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. However, they're going into Tommy B's house. My boy Tom Brady.
But this isn't the same Patriots. This is your daddy's Patriots.
Some people call him Giselle's husband. I call him Tom Brady.
This isn't your average great Patriots team, though. This team is struggling.
You're right.
Their defense is
But the Chiefs'
bad.
defense is so bad. I like the Patriots to control the ball. They will control the ball. They will score points. They'll put up touchdowns.
They did have multiple 5 picks against Blake Bortles, though, last week.
The Chiefs' defense is still not good. They can't cover Gronk. He's going to get loose in this game.
Is anyone going to cover Tyreek? Is anyone going to cover Kareem Hunt?
There's going to be a lot of points in this game. I agree with that. However, Patriots are at home. I like their offense to keep Mahomes off the field and score touchdowns, not field goals. Ultimately, I think that they're not as good as the Chiefs, but they win this game 34-31. And that concludes our Week 6 matchups. You can @ Jeff Malinoff on Twitter if you hate his picks.
Why?
Or if you like him. You can @ Mark, M-A-R-C, Hella, like from California, gets it. And if you would like
and
to
tweet him, he doesn't get it.
you only
and
can
make fun
tweet
of his
me.
Twitter name.
You only can tweet me if you have nice things to say. But other than that,
no, you can't. You can't do that.
You can say whatever you want to,
If you
Jeff.
disagree with him, speak your mind. He'll block you because he can't take any criticism. It sounds like. Hello, Odell Beckham.
I actually don't have as thin skin as you would think.
Then why are no one allowed to say bad things about you on Twitter?
Because I'm a positive person and I like to do positive things in my life.
Of garbage.
Let's go to break. When we come back, we will talk about.
Hold up. We got a liar in our midst, it sounds like. Wow, or disingenuous.
Disingenuous. That is
Yeah.
way too big of a word for somebody that went to University of Arizona.
Yeah, graduated in 4 years, by the way.
Ooh, congratulations. You did it, buddy.
Yeah, well, average graduation time now is 5 years, so I beat the average.
Well, it looks like you're a B student. All right, so we will go to break.
Didn't you go to Chico State?
What a school, right?
Oh, God.
When we come back, we'll talk about college football, some big matchups this weekend, what you need to know, what you need to see, right after this.
Yeah, you're on my coattails.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just talked about the Week 6 matchups in the NFL, as well as the Thursday Night Football matchup between the Eagles and the Giants. Now we're going on to the college football, and we're going to be talking about the top 25 teams and who they're playing. We'll start off with probably one of the most important games, and that's number... Sorry. Wow, I just lost my train of thought. Anyways, the number 5 Notre Dame playing Pittsburgh. That's going to be an important one. But I think more important than that, number 2 Georgia versus number 13 LSU.
It's a big game. LSU coming off that loss. They just lost to Florida on the road. They host Georgia. Should be a tough game. I don't think LSU has enough, to be honest with you.
Yeah, after losing their 5th ranked to a... would you call them an inferior team they lost to last week?
I don't know. I think Florida's a good team, but it was on the road, so it's always tough to win at Florida.
Mm-hmm. Granted. But they are facing the number 2 team in the nation, Georgia, who's looking to bounce back from their bad loss.
It's a big game for LSU. Yeah. If they lose, where do you think they fall? Probably like 20?
Oh, yeah, in the 20s. So there's the number 2 team
it's the number 2, so it wouldn't be a bad loss at all.
If they lost by a lot, I would say in the 20s. If they only lost by like a field goal, I would say 15.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So who do you see winning this game?
Georgia.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you there. I just think that Georgia's is too much for me, for LSU. I don't think that the LSU defense will be able to stop that Georgia offense.
Yeah, the number 2 for a reason.
Yeah, I think Georgia's defense will have a much easier time stopping LSU. So who do we have next?
Number 7 Washington versus number 17 Oregon.
That's going to be a really good game on the West Coast. That's definitely the West Coast game of the week. You said 17 Oregon?
Correct.
Against 7 Washington?
Correct.
I like Oregon in this one.
I'm going to take Washington.
Yeah, I like Oregon at home.
Okay. Well, we'll see who comes out on top. But
the Battle of the Pacific Northwest.
It's going to be defense versus offense, I feel like. It's going to be great defense versus a great offense.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in this game. Definitely a clash of styles. We'll see. It should be good.
Okay. Next, I want to talk about is number 15 Wisconsin versus number 12 Michigan.
Now that is a game to look for. Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. That's always a good game. You know, for that conference. I mean, we're talking about 2 heavyweights, 2 teams that are always looking to get into the playoffs, get into a Rose Bowl. Who's at home? Is Michigan at home?
It is in Ann Arbor.
At the Big House?
At the Big House.
I think Jim Harbaugh needs this win. He really needs it. It seems like he doesn't win the big games enough.
Yet he plays at the Big House.
But he sits in the big chair. However,
his big khakis. And his big
hat. Think Jim Harbaugh at the Big House.
Big cleats.
I think they beat Wisconsin.
And his big glasses.
What do you think happens here?
I see Michigan taking this one. Just the home crowd advantage is going to be a huge factor in this, especially over 100,000 people. I take Michigan.
All right. What do you got next?
Looking at it, there's not a lot. I don't think there's any other ranked versus ranked teams, but we'll look at some unranked teams versus ranked teams. Number 1, Alabama versus unranked Missouri.
Say it again.
We're looking. There's no more ranked versus ranked teams, but there is number 1 Alabama versus unranked Missouri.
Alabama.
I don't think there's any question about that.
That should be easy.
It's a 28-point favorite Alabama team.
So. Alabama wins by 38.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow, that's harsh. Then we'll go to number 3 Ohio State, who are 29.5-point favorites against Minnesota. Not the Vikings. The college.
Yeah, I think Minnesota could cover this game, but Ohio State should still win by at least 3 touchdowns. Yeah, so who else do we got on the slate?
We also have number 5 Notre Dame versus unranked Pittsburgh.
Notre Dame, I think, takes
21-point favorites, so not as high as the others.
Yeah, in recent years, Pittsburgh has given Notre Dame some trouble, but not this time. Notre Dame wins. I think they cover, too.
We'll get number 9, Texas versus unranked Baylor.
I think it's a more interesting game than people give credit to. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Baylor pulls an upset. What's the spread on that game?
It's only 14.
Yeah, I wouldn't be completely shocked if Baylor pulled an upset, but Texas is riding that wave, so it'll be interesting to see if they're still riding the wave, like if they're not focused for this week because of that big win, or if this last big win against Oklahoma pushes them to another win and, for the rest of the season. But it's always one of those things where Texas, they finally found some success this season here with a big early season win. I could see their mentality going either way, but I wouldn't be shocked if Baylor wins.
Yes, and now we're going to the final game that I feel like is an important game. 6 for West Virginia versus unranked Iowa State. Iowa State has been known for upsets against ranked teams. Do you see another upset here, or do you see West Virginia taking it?
Who's at home?
I believe it is Iowa State, but I may try to double-check that. It is in... Wait for it. It's loading. It is in Iowa, so I was right. It's in Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa.
Yeah. What's the spread on that game?
The spread on that game is 6.5 points.
Yeah, you said it. Iowa State, the Cyclones, they could make some noise.
But West Virginia could still take it and move up and possibly get that playoff spot they've been craving for so long.
I think Iowa State wins this game. That'll be my upset of the week.
Okay, cool. Any other games you want to talk about? Colorado, USC, Miami, Virginia.
I'm
UCF,
interested to watch Washington play Oregon because Justin Herbert. I think he's a good quarterback. He could possibly be the New York Giants.
Is he related
next
to that
quarterback.
Herbert guy from Family Guy?
Probably not. But this is a game where he's already a name in college football, but I think that this could be a game that really solidifies his status as maybe the top quarterback coming out of this draft. It would be an interesting game as we start to get later on in the college football season to see who some of these quarterbacks are, who's rising to the top, who's separating themselves from the rest of the field. And I think that this is an opportunity on a national stage to beat a very good Washington team that has a really good defense. It's his opportunity to show everybody that he's the best quarterback in college and that he should be the number one quarterback taken in this coming NFL draft.
Wow, that's a lot coming from you. So we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we'll talk about anything else in the world of football we want to discuss, and we'll see you right after this.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
And welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We're on the final stretch here. We've talked about Thursday Night Football. We've talked about Week 6. We've talked about college football and the top 25 matchups. Now we're on the final stretch. What are we going to talk about, Mark?
Aaron Rodgers. He had a setback this last Sunday against the Lions with his knee after a hit he took in the first quarter against the Lions. So it sounds like he's missed some practice time this week, and he might have to go back to the larger brace on his knee for this Monday night. He does get some good news, though, as his full slate of receivers are set to return from injury. Randall Cobb, Geronimo Allison, in addition to Devontae Adams and Marquez Valdez-Scantling should all be available for him. Do you think this is an issue, his knee, now that he's faced a setback? Do we think that this is an issue that will go away this season, or do you think it's going to be an ongoing problem that he has to deal with for the rest of the 2018 season?
I think he has to deal with Mason Crosby for the rest of the 2018 season more than his knee.
Yeah,
but no, on a serious note, yes, I would think that's a little concerning if I'm a Packers fan or am I part of the Packers organization, because that's your franchise right there. And but if the offensive line protects him and he doesn't feel pressure too much and he doesn't try to put too much pressure on his leg and get tackled and 300 pounds gets on his leg, I think he'll be fine. But that's up to the offensive line, not him anymore.
Yeah, and they are facing the Niners, so it should be an relatively easy win for them. And with that said, he might not have to throw the ball a bunch of times, especially in the second half of the game, depending on how easy it actually will be. But of course, it is concerning. I'm not sure if he's going to be 100% through the rest of the season. It's an injury that will take
85%.
It's an injury that takes time away from the game to heal, like it's your knee. So he's always on his knee. He's always going to get hit. He might, take some shots that he wouldn't be able to sustain when he was normally healthy. So it's interesting to look for. So Monday night, Packers and 49ers. Of course, we'll have that preview on Monday. But take
Let
into
me ask
account
you something. Is this injury the mark of his downslide of his career, like ending his career?
I don't think so, but we are seeing
extension.
that. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think this is like a career altering injury, but we are talking about a guy that's now had 2 decent to major injuries in the last 2 years. Last year with his broken collarbone, this year with his knee. That's already been a problem through 5 weeks. So who knows, man? It's hard to tell. What do you think about that?
This definitely would make me worry, but Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and I say that in the terms of he knows how to win games with or without injuries, and he is a leader, and he will lead by example, and that's what he's going to do on Sunday.
I wanted to talk about the Chiefs and Patriots a little bit more, since it is, I think, what we can just agree to say that it's the game of the week.
We can actually talk about that on Monday before the...
No, it's Chiefs-Patriots is Sunday night football.
Oh, it's Sunday night? What's Monday night? Oh, that's the Niners and Packers. Oh, I apologize. I thought that was the Monday night game.
So Sunday night football...
That should be the Monday night game.
Yeah, but it's great that it's Sunday night too, so we'll take it. I wanted to talk about it in regards to Julian Edelman. He returned last week for the Patriots. He didn't make any big plays in the game, but it was obvious that Brady enjoys having him back. It was obvious that in the short to intermediate passing game that Julian Edelman is still his preferred target. Do you think that his presence really boosts the chances of the Patriots winning a game against the Chiefs, considering that Edelman is more of a ball control possession type receiver? If they keep getting first downs and moving the ball down the field, they keep the Chiefs offense off the field.
The Patriots, Tom Brady's bread and butter has always been short, accurate passes. Expect like 5 to 10 yards out, and usually like first down passes. And Edelman is a key component to that, and I think that's going to be a huge factor in this. I still think Kansas City will take this one, but I will say that it will be a hard-fought victory for the Chiefs with Tom Brady on their heels throughout the entire game, making those accurate passes.
Yeah, it is interesting just because Edelman is a big part. He's kind of like an unsung hero. Nobody will say that he's one of the top 10 or 15 wide receivers in the NFL, but regardless, he's Tom Brady's reliable target. He's a guy that Brady has counted on time and time again. But what do you think now? So just a couple weeks ago, the Patriots, they struggled a little bit, but they didn't have Josh Gordon. They didn't have Julian Edelman. Now they have both guys. They have Gronk, who's healthy, relatively healthy. James White. What do you make of their passing game now that they've added those two pieces on the outside?
They'll probably go back to the Super Bowl again like they do every year, it feels like.
You think so, huh?
Well, that's a pretty dominant 3 you're looking at.
Yeah.
One that can go deep, one that can catch anything, and one that can't be covered.
Yeah, you got one guy, like you said, Josh Gordon on the outside, who can just flat out beat any coverage, and then you got Gronk patrolling the middle of the field always occupying linebackers and safeties, and then Edelman and that underneath stuff. He's always hard to get a hold of. He's so good at running those short routes and getting free from defensive backs.
Kansas City's definitely in trouble with this lineup right now.
So I wanted to talk to you about something as we wrap up this today's episode.
Okay.
The Rams. Now, they've been impressive. They've looked really good, but their defense has given up some yards and points the last couple of games. So I want to know if this is a thing. Like, they've given up a lot of rushing yards. They gave up a lot of rushing yards to Chris Carson. He rushed for 116 yards. Mike Davis ran for 68 yards. The Minnesota Vikings were able to move the ball on them. Are you worried about the Rams' defense for the rest of the season?
If they keep winning games, it shouldn't be an issue.
I mean, they're putting up points, but what I'm saying is when the games get tighter, especially the games in the playoffs that we're expecting them to be in, is their defense good enough? And not only is it good enough, but do you think that they'll improve? Because they do have some big names on that side of the ball. You got Aaron Donald.
Well, they have
you got
to improve.
You have players,
Yeah, they have to improve. I think they know that. And if they don't, we might see a one-and-done run in the playoffs. Who knows? But right now, they're still the best team in football, in my opinion. They can only get better. It's only looking up for them. They just work on those weaknesses you said about on their defensive side. Then I don't think anyone will stop them. But their offense has been bailing them out of a lot of games, so they should be fine for now.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the 10th ranked defense overall in the NFL, and they are ranked 18th against the run, so it's not like I'm sitting here saying that their defense is absolutely terrible, but we have seen in the last couple of games them give up some points.
For the hype they had on defense, it's been very lackluster.
Yeah, for the last couple of games. Do you think this is a get-right game for their defense as they face Case Keenum, who can make mistakes, and maybe an offense that isn't as good as Minnesota's and Seattle's?
If they fail to stop Keenum, and what I mean by that is he has a good game, but they still manage to win, then alarms should be going in their heads like, okay, we need to change some stuff on defense.
Yeah.
This is the test moment. And they'll have to retake the test if they fail like that again.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's all I got for the interesting news around the NFL. So again,
I think that should do it.
We have talked about the Week 6 matchups. We recapped Eli Manning and the disastrous New York Giants offense as they lost heavily to the Philadelphia Eagles last night. We talked about Saquon Barkley, how the man is just unreal. We highlighted some of those college football matchups that are big games this weekend that you could take a look for. And yeah, that's going to wrap this segment up. We hope to see you on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope your fantasy football teams do well. Hope that your real-life NFL teams do well, except for if they're playing ours. But we'll talk about that again some
We
other
will
time.
see you on Monday.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.